Like, you know what we want. And if there was anything to really help me understand and appreciate this album, the visuals, Beyonce. I need it for this album. I need, in all capital letters. We are here, y'all. Beyonce has officially released her 8th studio album, Cowboy Carter. It is the follow-up to her 2022 release, Renaissance, where she shook the world out of nowhere and didn't give us a visual. Still to this day, Cowboy Carter is released under Parkwood and Columbia Records, and it is Beyonce venturing into the country genre. Now, Beyonce said herself that this is not a country album. This is a Beyonce album. And ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this was a listening experience, I don't say that lightly. Now, my friend had encouraged me. I was getting off of work, right? This is Rick the Prince here, by the way. Rick the Prince, you're watching The Record Store. Go ahead and subscribe. We talk about music, and we talked about Beyonce before when she dropped the commercial at the Super Bowl. So y'all make sure y'all check that out because we kind of did a quick recap of the era. Now, I was getting off of work, right? Just worked a long shift. I was tired. I knew B was dropping, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I was not planning on listening to the whole album the night it dropped. My friend was like, yo, go on live. This is a moment. This is Beyonce. You know, he part of the Beehive, so whatever he can just spread the propaganda. This is Beyonce. You're gonna want to talk about it, right? So I was like, okay, fine. So I did a TikTok live stream. I usually don't live stream albums. So shout out to everybody that followed me on Twitter. Shout out to everybody that came through to the live stream on TikTok. When I tell you, I was exhausted after listening to this album. Mind you, the album is 27 tracks long. Cool, 27 tracks is giving Chris Brown, but you know, that doesn't mean the album is long, right? This album clocks at 79 minutes, which I know is at least an hour and 18 minutes. And if you know me, you know I'm not a big fan of long albums. Long story short, it was a struggle for me to get through this album. If I was not live streaming this album, I'm letting y'all know right now, I would not have finished this album tonight in one sitting. I highly suggest anybody that has not heard this album to not listen to this album in one sitting because I was exhausted. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was kind of difficult for me to get through this album. And I thought I would never, ever say that about a Beyonce album. But let's start here. She said that it was not a country album, but more so a Beyonce album. And off of the first listen, I will say she's not doing as much genre blending as I expected. This album is definitely rooted within country music throughout. Like, she steps out here and there, but she's not doing too much where you can't call this a country album, which is a good thing. I was hoping Beyonce did not do too much of blending and they fuck around and call it pop and she get put in the R&B categories. Because, you know, there's a big conversation about whether or not Beyonce is going to get nominated for Album of the Year. Well, she's going to get nominated. Whether she's going to win, because she's been snubbed every time for Album of the Year. Had this album been too much of genre blending, I think that would have hurt her chances of getting the credibility for doing this country style. So I appreciate that. One highlight that I did enjoy was the Smoke Hour. Now, on this album, she has a couple interludes entitled Smoke Hour, which features Willie Nelson, kind of like a country radio station-esque thing. I wanted her to play into that more. These are just some of my first thoughts, y'all. I'm gonna do a record report. If y'all don't know what the record report is, it's basically an album review where I go track by track and talk about the album. That will be on Patreon. Yes, you guys, I'm finally launching a Patreon. I'm so excited. That is coming out in April, so y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. We have Ariana Grande coming. I think that will be the first record report upon release, but we definitely gonna be talking about Cowboy Carter. I just wanted to come on here and get some of my thoughts out. I needed the radio station to be a lot more. If y'all ever heard Lil Kim's La Bella Mafia, she has some skits on there where she's doing a radio station, and she actually has a call-in segment where like people call in to her. I would have loved for Beyonce to kind of incorporate that radio style a lot more if that was going to be incorporated into the album. I feel like that could have helped structure the album better. Also, it would have allowed her to play around with the character. There are a couple moments on this album where she's playing around with characters. I think of Sweet Honey Bumpkin, for instance. The main thing that stuck out to me is Beyonce's vocals. Beyonce's voice was made for country music. That tone, ever since Beyonce started maturing and that tone started getting a little bit more husky, ooh, her vocals was highlighted on this album in such a special way, because a lot of this music was stripped down and we got a chance to actually hear Beyonce's voice. Real quick, let me just give y'all my top 5. 2 Most Wanted, Daughter, Yaya. I like Tyrant. I'm gonna have to run that back. Hold on, is Tyrant the one with Pharrell? I want to say Bodyguard, but I'm gonna say the Protector instead. I did like Blackbird too. This album, I'm telling you, I need time with it. I need time with it. I need time with this album. It's not like Renaissance. Renaissance, I was able to get right off the bat, right? 16, I think, was a sweet spot for Beyonce when it comes to her albums. An hour and 18 minutes, a little long for me. Off of the first listen, what stood out to me were the lyrics. I got to get into these lyrics and the vocals. Those were the 2 highlights for me on this album. I gotta point out Daughter, because Daughter, the storytelling on that, whoo, Beyonce, overall, you gave me a lot. I'm not gonna sit here, you gave me a lot. I can't really say whether or not I like the album or not. It's just too much to really get into off the first day, off the first listen. I felt like I done ran around the whole country with my American flag 3 times and came back, and I'm exhausted. The Protector with Rumi, such a sweet, beautiful record. Like, wow. Salute to Beyonce though. Salute to Beyonce for getting this project out. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I did not expect Act 2 to come this soon. I didn't expect the Act 2 at all. So the fact that she is committing to this 3-part act, you know, she hints at the 3rd act being rock and roll, which is gonna be my act if you ask me. Right now, I'm gonna say that Renaissance is still leading the pack. I'm almost confident. If there was any album that I needed a visual from, it's this one, Beyonce. I don't know what's happening with the visuals. Like, you know what we want. And if there was anything to really help me understand and appreciate this album, the visuals, Beyonce. I need it for this album. I need, in all capital letters. But maybe that's just me. Y'all let me know how y'all feel. Was the album too long for y'all? Was the album all over the place? Did you like the sequencing? What were some of the highlights? What were some of the things that you wanted versus what you got? The samples, because you know we got to get into the samples, the credits, the lyrics. There's just so many things to get into, but I had to come on here and talk to y'all binos and let y'all know what's happening. Patreon, like I said, coming in April. So if y'all want to really get into the breakdown of this album, we also have Ariana Grande we're gonna be doing, Justin Timberlake we're gonna be doing, Taylor Swift. Make sure y'all follow the record store and stay tuned for what we have coming. Follow us on social media, subscribe, click that bell, all that good stuff. See more of this handsome face. And yeah, I'm yours truly, Rick the Prince, and we'll see y'all next time.